What's going on, y'all? I am Chris, the Striping Guy, and in today's video, I've got Striping with Bill here with me, and we're going to be talking about how Bill was able to make 175K parking lot striping. But before we get into that, I just want to say, if you're new to the channel and you have been watching, but you're not yet subscribed, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and that notification bell icon. That way you can be notified anytime we release some new videos, because the information that we give away in these live streams and in the YouTube videos are super helpful. And we put this content out that way you guys could experience success in your service-based business. Also want to say that if you're thinking about getting into parking lot striping and you haven't yet moved forward with it, consider getting the How to Stripe course, which is our 8-hour training that we made for people who are wanting to get into striping. And we have an online learning platform where you can learn that, as well as we offer in-person training, where if you want to go through the course, but then you want to come out on site, learn how to do it in person, get your hands on the equipment, and so on and so forth. You can come and do that. Consider checking that out. And then you can always send me a text message if it's something that you're interested in. Now, Bill, how are you doing today, bro?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Just living life and trying to get through it one day at a time, like everybody else. How about yourself?
Man, living the dream, man. I can't complain. It's quarter one of 2025, and usually in the first month and a half of the first quarter of the year, we're really slow. But man, I'm getting calls non-stop.
Yes, sir. I'm still getting them as well.
Isn't that great? I mean, isn't it great to be busy? I mean, there's so many people out there who are not busy, work's not coming in, they're not getting those calls. And that's what this live stream is about today, about how we're able to utilize what we teach in order to get organic traffic that's coming to us every single month.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 100%.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Man, last year we went to Pavex together and you weren't able to go this year. You missed out on a great show.
I know, man. I wanted to go this year, but it just happened to land at the wrong time. I had a water loss in my house, and so I was dealing with contractors in and out of my house every day. My wife with the kids, it was going to be really hard for her to be able to manage the situation. So I unfortunately had to stay home this year to make sure everything went smoothly and that we weren't going to have any hiccups, because it's like a $15,000 water loss. So, I had to stay home for sure to kind of oversee the whole thing.
Yeah, 100%. Well, there's always an event next year. I think it's going to be in New Orleans next year.
Oh man, that'd be cool.
Looking forward to it. Did a bunch of awesome collabs. If anybody's thinking about going next year, let me know. That way we can meet up and, say hello. But anyways, if you're hopping on the live today, you just hopped on, and in this live, we're going to be talking about how Bill was able to make 175K in his parking lot striping business. This information is super valuable, especially if you're somebody that's on the fence or you're thinking about it, and you're not really sure if you want to get into this. I talked to somebody yesterday that was considering joining a franchise, and the pitch that the franchise had to the person was, we can guarantee you $100,000 worth of work in your first year. And so I think it's so funny that these franchises prey on people who want to get into this industry, but they want to have a piece in their business where they'll have to perpetually pay these franchise fees, where someone like me can teach them how to do it, and another company won't own you for as long as you're in business for. It's awesome.
Yeah. And, the thing with those franchises, man, is it's not your name going on it. It's theirs. They're not promoting you. They're promoting themselves. So, yeah, that's something to keep in mind there.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, let's get into the video. So first of all, Bill, if you don't mind, just go ahead and tell me about how you got started and then your first year in business. And then we'll lead up to the point of how you were able to generate that 175K.
So first year in business, obviously the first thing is getting started, right? Me and my brother, we were watching YouTube videos, trying to figure out ways to make money. And we came across some of your videos, Chris, and as well as, some of the others out there talking about parking lot striping. And we thought, hey, this looks pretty interesting. Let's check it out. So we kept researching it further and finally decided to pull the trigger on it. Now, obviously, being brand new, just starting a business, nobody's going to know who you are. They're not even going to know that you exist. So we got together, we worked together to come up with, basic general design, first design on the business card. So, we got them printed up, ordered them some business cards, and then started handing them out, going to local businesses, hitting them up. Hey, notice your parking lot's looking a little faded. The lines, they could use a touch up. Here's our card. If you're interested, give us a call. Now, at that time, we didn't realize who we really needed to talk to. So we're just passing them out like candy. Then that's when I kind of started getting in contact with you, Chris, and you really, started helping me out, giving me some advice. And so I started implementing some other things. I created a business flyer and physically mailed a lot of business flyers out, as well as drove around town and handed them out. You can look at maps all day long, but those things they're not real time. So we spent a lot of time driving around trying to find lots that needed work, and then going in and talking to people. And then later on, obviously found out we need to find the right person to talk to, because chances are you just go and talk to a random person and give them the card, it's going to end up in the trash. So, we did a lot of footwork and a lot of research too, trying to find information online. How do I get my first job? How do I find the person to talk to? So it was kind of painful. It was pretty painful to start out, for sure.
I understand. Look, I think that's the traditional way of how everybody essentially starts out, right? You start out by, as you said, doing that footwork, but you soon realize that you're putting in a lot of time and effort, energy into handing out business cards, passing out flyers,
and
door
money,
knocking.
because that stuff costs money.
And money,
yeah.
Right? I mean, you're putting a lot of effort into acquiring customers. And for me personally, when I tried it that way, the return on my investment and the return on my time, I wasn't able to justify it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's same here, man. It was really hard to justify all that gas and wasted time driving around and just talking to the wrong people to begin. I mean, automatically right off the bat, talking to the wrong people. So you're literally getting nowhere. And it was frustrating and a little discouraging at first, for sure.
I understand. Look, that's something that we all deal with whenever we're just starting out, is not really having a good understanding of how to bypass the gatekeeper, get in contact with the decision maker, and then advance forward. That way we can acquire them as a customer, successfully complete the job, and then generate a profit off of the job that we complete. And it's a learning process. I mean, it takes time to not only learn how to do that, but then also how to sell, then how to approach customers, and then how to acquire leads. I mean, all these things work together. And if you really don't have a good understanding of it, which none of us did in the very, very beginning, it can be kind of hard, which is why we created, this is a good example of why we created our school program. There are two people that are in this chat right now that are in our school program. One of them is Jack. Got on a call with Jack last night. His first quote, this is why this information that we give away in these trainings, mentorships, and all that stuff is so important. Jack's first quote of 2025 ended up being $118,000. His first quote, 118K. And that was just off of what he got leveraging Google and how we taught him how to do that. So this information is extremely valuable. But you don't know unless somebody tells you. So if you guys are interested in joining our school community and you want to learn how to land gigantic contracts and then get reoccurring work, then consider checking out our school community. I leave my number in every video in the comment section, the description. If you guys want to join our school, it's super cheap. And then you're going to get access to the information that you're going to need in order to contact decision makers, bypass those gatekeepers, and then make wonderful sales. So now, Bill, if I can ask you that, first year, kind of rocky, you and I make a connection. We're talking, and I'm like, hey, all right, try doing this. Try doing this. And then you implement what you're taught. Tell me about how year 2 goes after you implement what I told you. Tell me how year 2 went.
So imagine lighting a firecracker with a really long, slow burning fuse. That's essentially what it was. Year 1 was the slow burning fuse. Year 2, that's when you see the fireworks, man. And that's how it was for us. Year 1, we took a loss because we invested a lot of our personal money into the business, money that we had saved up. And we'll talk about that more here in a minute. But so all that investing, not only of time, but also money, and then doing what we had talked about and discussed and implementing the recommendations that you suggested to me, just set the fireworks off for year 2, man. Year 2 just blew up, and we started getting calls like, it was pretty soon into year 2 that and even up to now, I pretty much do not hand out anything. I do not hand out flyers. I do not hand out business cards. I don't make cold emails or cold calls. Everything is just coming in off of Google, man. Every day my phone is ringing. It's crazy. So I'm not having to pay for marketing or advertising or, pay an employee to go knock doors of businesses and everything. It's all organic, dude. And it's all because the advice that you had given me, like, hey, try this. Okay, now do this. Now do that. And I was like, it's a lot of work, but okay, I'm going to do it. What else am I going to do? I'm not getting work anyways. So I implemented those changes, listened to your advice. And sure enough, dude, the next thing I knew, I started getting calls. I got ranked higher on the search results, and it just took off from there.
Isn't that crazy?
Even in the slow season with the cold weather and rain, people are still calling.
Isn't that wild? Look, you and me, we know each other personally. So
Yes,
it's not just an internet thing, but we live an hour and a half away from each other. We see each other frequently throughout the year. I mean, and you know the comments that people leave in YouTube videos. Oh man, this is a scam. It's not going to work. It's a scam. This is all. I mean, for the people who leave comments like that. I mean, we got 14 people that are watching the live right now. We really, really appreciate y'all watching the live. Hit that like button if y'all can for me. I'd really appreciate it. But to those 14 people, I mean, please tell these 14 people the legitimacy of what we're talking about right now. You just blew up year 2.
Yep. It's 100% legit, guys. Look, I can tell you, I can vouch for this 110%. It does work, but you got to do it exactly how he tells you. You can't just do part of it, even just the smallest, most minute detail. You think, oh, that's not going to make a difference. It does, man. That's how the information works. That's how the process of it works. You got to do it how it's being instructed to you to do. If you don't do it, it's not going to be successful, and you're going to fail. You're going to fail. That's all there is to it, man. Like I said, I listened to Chris, and everything that I did, everything that he told me, I implemented it, and it worked. It set off year 2 for me, and it just I don't know what else to say other than it works, man. You guys got to listen to him. And the course, I helped him with a small section of the course, but all the other material, and it was just a super, about science, but all the rest of the information in the course, guys, that stuff is so valuable. I had actually, before I even came across Chris, I bought another course that's currently out on the market. I'm sure some of you know who it is. Okay. I'm not going to mention any names, but for the value, that other course to me personally is it's trash. I mean, don't get me wrong. I did get something out of it, and there was some value in it for me as a guy starting out. But Chris's course, way, way, way more value for your dollar, man. And it will for sure help you get started way faster, way more successful than the other stuff that's out there on the internet right now. Because the way that it's lined up and set up is not only does it, walk you through getting everything set up for your business and then teaching you about it, but it's real life, like in the field training that you can watch and see, like, oh, what do I do if this happens? And a lot of that information's in there. And then you get access to a Discord community that is extremely valuable, man. There's other guys that have been in the industry for years that are in that Discord. They have the experience. They're willing to help you out and not bash you for not knowing something, even the most simplest information that's common in the industry. But as a new guy, we understand, man. We understand that you're new and you're not going to know this information. If you haven't been in the industry, how else are you supposed to know it? You ask questions, and the guys in the Discord, they're willing to help out and not bash on you like a lot of these social media groups are on Facebook or whatever. So it's the Discord community is highly invaluable.
Isn't that why? I mean, it's an 8-hour training, and you get a private community, a Discord chat to answer all of your basic questions, and it's super valuable. It's $250. I mean, an 8-hour training is $250.
And just so you guys know, just FYI, man, I'm not an affiliate. I don't get paid nothing for promoting Chris's course. I'm doing this because I believe in it. I 110% believe in this course. It is worth the money. Okay. I get nothing out of it, not a penny. So yeah, I'm putting that out there just to let you know. All right.
Look, and also not only that, right? In our programs are extremely affordable because obviously we can't give everything away for free, but we want people to have access to the training that could change their lives. Because, man, dude, it wasn't, what was it, 3 years ago? I was working at a fast food place. And so this has financially changed my life. And then the information that you use that you use to make 175K is put in there in that training video, in one training video. If you watch it and you implement one training video, that is how Bill was able to get 175K, by implementing the information that's in one video. Marco lives in Tulsa. He bought How to Stripe. He just took the Facebook ad section. He hasn't even bought a machine yet. Listen to this. Hasn't bought a machine yet. He watched how to run Facebook ads and How to Stripe, because it's not just a striping training, but it teaches you how to get customers. He went from making $60 a day working at a laundromat. Guy makes $1,000 a day painting basketball courts. He's the only guy in the state doing it. And he's a Serbian.
They don't do it.
He's an immigrant from Serbia. Yeah. And he goes from making $60 a day to making over $1,000 a day just off of the Facebook ads portion. Anyways, I'm super excited about it, and I like telling people about it. Now,
oh yeah, man, he's got the drive for it too.
Look, if you're watching the chat, you just hop in the chat. In a little bit later on in the live, we're going to do some Q&A for Bill, and if y'all want, put your questions down in the chat, and we will get to them, and we'll answer your questions later on in the live. All right, so Bill, back to how we were talking about the year and how the year went. You start off the year, you're getting calls, you quit handing out business cards. When were you thinking to yourself, wow, this is almost too much? I mean, I'll be honest with you, last year, by the time I got done with the third quarter, I looked at what we've made for the year, and I thought, dude, I'm going to chill. I'm going to relax. I'm not going to try to just go 100% anymore. I looked at what we made, and I said to myself, I'm cool with what I've done. I'm gonna relax. I mean, obviously I did striping jobs and we did do work. I mean, I'm not saying that I was completely lazy, but I was able to take my foot off the gas because of how much organic traffic that we got, that we converted into customers. Tell me about what it was like for you when this is going through your mind, you were like, wow, this does work? Were you getting, I mean, tell me about the calls.
Man, so it probably, I would say late spring, early summer is when I was like, wow, I'm getting a lot of calls right now. And we started getting backed up, dude. At one point, I think we got to be like a month behind because of the amount of calls that we were getting. And then, some of the weather delays. So it was probably about middle of June, early July that I started turning away some work because it was just, we couldn't take it on, man. It was, all it is just me and my brother. We're the only guys working this business. We take the calls, we write the estimates, deal with the emails, and then we're out there working the jobs. So there's only so much that two guys can do. And we started sending business away because it got to be too much. So it was pretty quick after the season got started, like really started picking up, because usually early spring when the temps start to get warmer, that's when the calls start coming in, because it's that time of year, man. It's the season for striping. So yeah, it happened real quick that we were like, wow. And so we started turning away work, and then throughout the summer we were turning some jobs away here and there because it was just getting to be too much. And then kind of towards the end of the season, I started having, some issues with my back. And so I started turning more work away because of that. And I'm still dealing with some back issues, and I'm in the process of getting it taken care of, but we're still, we still take on work, just not quite as much as a result. And, because of the income that we're making off of it, we were able to do that. And not have to invest additional money into the marketing as far as like driving around trying to get customers and everything. So it made it really easy to be able to just be like, oh, sorry, we're too booked up at this time. You might try calling these guys or try calling these guys. So, and a lot of the times, there's only a couple people, you being one of them, Chris, that I will recommend to these people whenever I turn them away, because there's a lot of guys in the industry that they do shoddy work, man. And I don't feel comfortable putting my name on that. I'm not going to recommend someone who does terrible work to a customer. I'm just not going to do it, because then it makes me look bad. And then they're definitely not going to call me and like, well, I'm not going to call him because he sent me this trash guy. So, and I don't blame them. I wouldn't either. I wouldn't call me either if that was the case. But yeah, it happened pretty quick.
I have conversations with people on the phone. Of course, they'll call me, and when we see people on the internet, people will reach out to me, and they're wanting me to tell them, yeah, this will happen really, really fast. And it's just kind of like this get rich quick kind of crypto mentality. That I was talking to a guy last night, and he hasn't even started yet. And one of his first questions was, all right, so now I'm trying to think about replacing myself, and then and I'm like, bro, if you're already thinking about replacing yourself, you might as well forget it. I mean, because you have to lay the foundation first. Like, if you join a franchise, yeah, they're going to help you, and you're gonna kind of catapult quickly because you're going to have access to their branding, but you're also going to have to pay royalty fees. And if you want to pursue that route, that's totally fine. But just understand that you're essentially working for someone else. You don't run your own business. You're just a branch off of another company. And I told him, and I said, you trying to replace yourself before you ever even got started is like building a house with no foundation. I mean, that's exactly what it's like. Instead of pouring concrete, you're laying the foundation, you're pouring the slab, you're putting your plumbing through. I mean, just like whenever you're framing a house. A contractor would never frame a house without a foundation being poured. And so I don't understand why people have this mentality where I'm going to try to form a house or frame a house without laying the necessary foundation. So I told him, I said, this is what we do is not get rich quick. It's not crypto. It's not, I'm going to put 20 grand into it and then hopefully it goes up and all this stuff. It's not a get rich quick thing. I told him, I said, it takes about 1.5 to 2 years for me to produce a person who stripes that is very good at marketing, because you could be the best striper in the world. for those of you that are watching the live stream right now, I know so many people that are amazing at striping. They are the best as far as operational aspects, and they can lay out the most difficult layouts and read plans and all this stuff, but they don't know how to get customers. And if you're someone who's really good at striping, but you don't know how to get customers, it doesn't matter how good you are, because the only thing that matters is successfully completing the job and then getting that customer to pay you. And so I told him, I said, man, look, I've replicated this process so many times now. If you do what I tell you to, it's going to take you about a good 1.5 to 2 years. People who have been doing it for 6 months it can happen, but it's very, very few people that are able to do that in a short period of time. So it's not a get rich quick scheme.
No, it's definitely not, man. You've got to invest a lot of time into it, and it's something that it doesn't pay off immediately. Now, are there exceptions? Of course, there's always exceptions, right? It's kind of like playing the lottery in a way. Keep playing the lottery, keep playing the lottery. You're gonna lose. You're gonna be losing for a while until you finally hit something decent, and then you get some money back. There's guys that some people that they start the same business. You can take a handful of people, start the same business, and out of that group, you got one that just blows up like that. There's exceptions. It could be location based. It could be whether or not they got a silver tongue, man, because there are people out there, they got that smooth talk, and they can sell anybody on anything. So, but most of your average people, everyday normal people, man, we're not built like that. We don't have that silver tongue. We don't have that skill set, and we have to learn. We have to go through the learning process, just like when we go through school. We learn to socialize, and that's what it is. You gotta learn the basics. You got to put in the footwork and do the foundational work and keep doing it. Don't just stop and wait. Like, okay, I did everything. Now what do I do? No, just keep it up, keep going. Because if you stop, then everything's just going to fall apart. And so you just got to keep putting in that work, and eventually it will pay off. But it's not something that's going to happen overnight. You have to do everything that is being taught to you in the course and keep doing it. Don't stop doing it. Otherwise, you're never going to be successful.
Right. I mean, and then there's just I tell this to people all the time, right? You have to be innovative. I made a video not too long ago about implementing these 4 things. And if you do these 4 things and you get really, really good at it, you can make your first 100K. And somebody left a comment down in the comment section. They were like, why don't you just hand out business cards and pass out flyers? And which there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to spend time doing that, and you want to, you know what I like to do? I like to sit back and let my phone ring. I don't like to spend 8 hours handing out flyers and business cards and shaking people's hand and going, hey, can I earn your business? I like people looking at my GMB going, that's a reputable company. I want to hire them. And then I don't have to try to sell them. I don't have to try to shake their hand or hand a card out or try to look desperate. These leads are coming to me. There's a difference between cold traffic and warm traffic, and people who are coming in off of Google are warm traffic. Now, we're about 30 minutes into the live. We got a pretty decent amount of people in here. Y'all, in this video, we're talking about how Bill, on his second year parking lot striping, made $175K. Feel free to leave some comments down in the chat, because we're fixing to go into the Q&A section. First, we got Jack. He says, let's go. Look, Jack is who I was talking about earlier. Listen, earlier in this video, Jack is a monster. He is in our private school community, and he called me last night, and we went over a quote of how to quote a parking lot. It was 118,000. He got it off of Google. When Jack started his GMB, he didn't have as many Google reviews. We told him, Jack, do this. If you do this, then this will happen. Same exact thing I told you, Bill. And guess what? Calls me last night, and he calls me yesterday, and then he says that the quote ended up being, what was it? 116,000. I don't know if you can see that. 116,000 off of the information, off of what we teach in our school program. And that's cheap too. But people are so cheap, they don't want to invest in themselves. Man, I'm telling you what, Jack's a killer. 118,000 quote that we sent out last night. Another one is Brandon. Brandon is in our school program as well. His first 2 years, listen to this. His first 2 years in business, he's doing what everybody else is doing. He's trying, he's working, he's a hard worker. Brandon's super sharp. You tell Brandon to do something, he will straight up do it. He's not a procrastinator. It's just sometimes we don't, if we don't have access to the right information, then we're not necessarily equipped. Here's this one. Here's another text message. You can't make this up. Here's another text message that Brandon sent me. Just got off the phone with my contact for the 3 apartment complexes. Looking like we're going to get it for $75K.
Nice.
75K, third year in business. It's the biggest job that he's ever gotten. And it's quarter one. All you got to do is sell 4 or 5 of those, and you're looking at over 300, 400,000 quarter one. And that's the kind of stuff that we teach in our private school community. And these guys are going out quoting big jobs, landing big jobs. Happens all the time. All right, here we go. If you don't mind, Bill, answer this one for me. It says, how do you get clients that want to get their parking lot striped? I live in an area where almost all towns and parking lots are in need of restriping, but none of the business owners want to fix it.
That's a tough one, man. If not the gatekeeper, but if the person in charge of making that decision does not want to spend money on doing it, that's a hard sell. It really is. And you run into that. That's unfortunately something that you're going to run into. There's going to be people that they just don't want to invest money into fixing their business up. They don't take pride in it. They don't care. And a lot of the times they don't even own that business. They're just the ones managing it. So it's like, it's not my business, not my money. Why do I care? I'm not going to mess with it. I would, in that situation, when they're stubborn like that, man, and it's a little tricky to navigate, and you gotta find the right verbiage, because you don't want to come at them saying, oh, well, if you don't do this, you could be held liable if there's an accident. It's basically like telling them, like, you can get sued. You want to get sued? Don't do that, man. Right. There's a way to relay that message, but professionally, and to make them maybe actually consider doing it, because it is a safety issue. If people can't tell where they need to navigate in the parking lot, you could have car accidents, you could have pedestrians getting ran over, you could have road rage incidents. So what I would just try to figure out a way to somehow try to relay that information to them, to maybe make them consider actually getting the work done, and just stay on top of them about it. If they say no, okay, give them a little bit of time, and then maybe try to hit them up again later, or see if there's maybe somebody else in for that particular business that you might be able to talk to who can make that decision. Sometimes it's not always going to be, I can't tell you how many times that I'll talk to one person on a job, but then at some point in time, I end up talking to somebody else and dealing with them for, getting paid or whether or not they want to actually process it. So in some of these places, there's more than one decision maker. They got to, I had an apartment complex. I was dealing with one guy, but he was just the one I was dealing with. He actually had to run it up the chain to other people to get it signed off and approved to actually do the job. So just keep trying to talk to them, maybe see if there's anybody else, try to research and ask around and see if there's anybody else for that business that you can talk to about getting it done. That's really about all I can think of at the moment. It is a tough situation. It's really hard to get that. It can be challenging for sure.
100%. And this is something that I want everybody who's in this chat right now to take into consideration. When you're approaching a potential customer, it's all about the art of communication. How you position and present yourself to a prospective customer makes all the difference. If you walk up to a customer and you appear desperate, you don't appear confident, you're not presenting yourself in such a way where it's making this person want to do business with you, then that could be a problem. You know, if a good friend of mine named Matt said that if everybody is saying something, then maybe it's not them. Maybe you're the problem. And that really resonates with you. So if nobody in your town is wanting to fix a problem, maybe it's not because they're not wanting to fix it. Maybe they're just not perceiving you to be a reputable person to do business with. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's all about how you position yourself in the art of communication. That's number one.
Art of communication is huge.
100%. Number two, you have to create demand. And then once you create demand, you fulfill the demand that you create. Does that make sense? Before you have to create the demand, and then you fulfill the demand that you create. Y'all need to write that down because that's some good stuff. Think about it like this for a second. You walk up to somebody and you're like, hey, you know, can I do your parking lot? Maybe they don't perceive you as a person who honestly wants to offer a legitimate solution. I walk up to my customers or people that call me, and I don't even try to sell them on a job. I immediately tell them, hey, there's a problem here that we need to address. Forget about the job or this or the price or anything like that. There's a problem here, and I want to solve the problem that you have. And then what I do is they perceive then that I'm a contractor that cares about their needs. You have to fulfill the demand after you create it. Now, not only that, but you have to have a competitive advantage. If you're doing the same exact thing that everybody else is doing and you're no different, what makes you any better, or why should another person go with you? And so what you have to do as a business owner, you have to implement innovation. You got to be different than everybody else. If everybody else is handing out business cards and flyers and cold calling and door knocking and doing all that stuff, you know what you got to do? You have to leverage Google and online platforms in order to generate organic traffic. And this is stuff that we talk about in our school program all the time. I hope that answered your question. Justin said, I'm a little late to the chat. How long have you been in the game, Bill?
We opened our business April 27th of 2023. So not long. Not long for sure. Yeah. We're still really new, and we're still learning things, man. And, you know, as a business owner, you got to have that mentality. You're always going to be learning. If you got that mentality that you have nothing else to learn, then you obviously have lost your passion, and you probably should find something else to do, because you always got to be open to learning. You always got to be open to learning and to change and to adaptation, man. That's how it is. So definitely keep an open mind and always be willing to learn something new.
Yeah. And I love questions like this too, because the great thing about it, and Justin leaves wonderful comments on my videos all the time, and I really appreciate it. I mean, think about this, y'all. This guy, you're going into your third season?
I guess it would technically be my third season.
Third season. He's going into his third season. He made $175,000 last year.
In a second, yeah.
I mean, that's what's so funny is like,
and that's with turning work away too. I mean, if I was able to, I know I could have easily cleared over 200K easy last year.
Yeah. I mean, in year two, which it's totally possible, which I tell people this kind of stuff all the time. I mean, look, I give away so much valuable information in YouTube videos, and people do not have the attention span to stay for an 8-minute video and take notes while you're watching the video, and then implement what you learn in the video out there. That way it can make you better. And then people hop off of a video after being on it for 3 minutes and then don't get the value that's in the video. And therefore they stay in the same exact situations that got them there in the first place.
Yeah, you got to stay through, man. You got to watch it all. It's like if you're paying for a course, why not get everything you can out of it, right? When you go to high school, college, Do you just dip out in the middle of class? No, you got to stay through the whole class, man. And it's the same thing with the videos, because that's what the video is. It's a class, except it's not an hour or 2 hours long. It's 8 minutes or 5 minutes or 15 minutes. Stick around for the whole video. You know, yeah, sometimes there's fluff in there, and sometimes that fluff, it's valuable. It's extremely valuable, and sometimes it's not. But that's what it is.
Yeah.
Same thing with classrooms in college or high school. You have your teachers, they go off on talking about something that's not really related to what's being discussed, but you're there for it. So, you know, don't click off after 30 seconds or 2 minutes. Just stick around and see what else there is. And that's the other thing, is sometimes a bit of information that's not even related to the video that's extremely valuable will be in that little small section that you decided to skip past or not watch at all.
100%. Yeah, no, that was a good answer. All right. Gus Hale says, did either of y'all have issues getting your Google My Business page going? Each time I try to set it up and verify it in the wait time from Google, they suspend my account for deceptive content. Bill, take this one over for me.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I did. Whenever I first started setting it up, and, you know, obviously this was a year ago, so I'm not sure if they've really changed it. I don't think they have, because I just got done setting up a GMB for my other business that I co-own with my wife. And I had an issue at first couple times I tried, but then eventually I got through. It's a really tricky one. I think you cover this in your video, in your course, Chris, but there are certain ways to input your data and your information to get it to go through. Okay. You will get phone calls. Once you put in your information and you're waiting for it to process and go through, you're going to get phone calls from Google saying, oh, hey, we noticed you're not verified. We can take care of that for a fee. Don't fall for it, man. Do not fall for it. They try to hit me with that with my wife's business that I co-own. And luckily I already knew from the striping that's, you don't pay that. You don't have to pay that to get verified and to get your actual GMB set up. So it's a little bit tricky to navigate, but you can do it, and it doesn't cost money. I don't know why they would be marking it for deceptive content. It's got to be something with how you're setting it up. So definitely, if you have access to Chris's course, I can't remember if it's in the course or if you have it as one of your general videos out there, Chris. But I know we covered that at some point.
Yeah, we did. You're right. We did cover it. I mean, I'm looking at the question. Each time I try to set up and verify in the wait time from Google, they suspend my account for deceptive content. Well, how patient are you? It's kind of a loaded question, because you don't really know. I mean, how patient are you? Are you taking pictures of your equipment? I don't think that you just set it up and then they automatically just suspend it, because there's got to be a reason why they're suspending it. So are you trying to change stuff? Are they saying it's the verification process and you're changing stuff in the middle? Or
the other thing too is, like, are you using your own photos? If you're uploading photos, are you using your own photos, or are you using just like general photos on the internet? Because that might have something to do with it too. They, believe it or not, they have some pretty sophisticated software, and they can tell whether or not it's original. So try some different things. If it's unsuccessful, delete it, try again, and maybe hopefully you'll get through at some point.
100%. All right, here's a good one. They say, what tricks do you use for restriping to know if it was oil-based last time or water-based? And can I use water-based paint and spray over oil-based?
So for the most part, everything that I've seen from other guys in the industry is that it doesn't matter. As long as you got a good base layer of paint, you can do oil over water or water over oil. That's not an issue. Where paint, the type of paint, latex, water-based versus oil, solvent-borne, it's going to be what you're spraying. If it's like a brand new layout, if it's asphalt or concrete, that is where you really are going to have to use one over the other. So it's without actually getting down there and chipping up the paint and looking at it, and even still, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. You'll never know, but as long as you got a good base layer of paint and it's not filthy with, with mud and dirt caked on, you can spray over that existing line, no problem at all. And you won't have any issues. I've used, so like, for example, with concrete, if it's new layout, you want to use oil base. Now, if you have concrete that's got oil based already down, already laid down, and you spray waterborne latex over it, it's adhering to the paint, not to the concrete. So you won't have any issues. I've had a couple of lots that, when I first started out, I started out with only water-based because I couldn't afford I was paying for acetone at the time, and I use something different now. But the acetone, $80 for 5-gallon bucket, that's a lot of money, and having to go through and flush your machines out with that. So I was using water-based because water is readily accessible. It's easy to clean up. You don't have to worry about, if you pour some out on the grass, you can easily just flush it away with water. But it'll adhere just fine. I got several lots that I've used water-based paint over the existing lines on concrete, and it held up perfectly fine. So
yeah, and especially you have to take into consideration, because what these contractors try to do, especially when it comes to striping, is they'll try to rush the concrete and pour it, and then try to have you come out and stripe it 2 days later. And the pH balances or it hasn't cured yet. And so you have to think about that, because if the concrete hasn't cured yet, and then you just put down paint and you stripe it, and then a week later it flakes up because it's in the process of curing. You know what I mean? Yep. So if I'm striping, let's just say a new construction layout, the concrete was just poured a couple days ago, and the contractors want me to rush through it. Well, I'll just tell them, I'll just say, hey, look, straight up, the concrete's not cured. I'll give you a double coat. I'm going to charge you for it. But if it peels and flakes up, it's not on me, because we have to wait. I like to wait 30 days to let the concrete cure. Bill, do you have a preference?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm with you on that. So if you call Sherwin-Williams, because I use Sherwin-Williams right now, that unfortunately that's for the most part the best paint available in my area. I don't really know of anything better at the moment. So if you contact them, concrete or asphalt, they recommend 30-day cure time minimum before you lay down paint. Otherwise, the multiple problems can arise out of it. So concrete, asphalt, doesn't matter. The recommended minimum wait time is 30 days. If they want it done before that because they procrastinated and now they're pushing the rush onto you, just let them know right up front. Hey, since this hasn't been, cured this long, I can't guarantee it's going to last. It could last a year. It could flake up after 3 days. There's no telling, because you have different chemical compounds and agents in those materials that's going to affect whether or not the paint adheres to the surface. So let them know right off the bat. I can't guarantee it. I can, if you want, I can try to do a double coat, but even still, because that base layer, if that initial layer doesn't adhere, it doesn't matter if you put 50 coats on it, it's still going to pop off of there. So definitely, I always ask them. And then if it's been sooner than 30 days, I let them know that up front. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, I don't care, because they just want to get through inspection. So yeah, always let them know right off the bat, because if you don't, and they decide to be jerks about it, they could come back and be like, hey, you need to fix this.
Right. It's funny that you mentioned that. My friend Marco did a striping job the other day. He's in the chat, and I'm going to read his comment here in a second, but I see his name right here. My friend Marco did a job, and I don't know what happened with it. It flaked. All I know is that the paint on the line flaked up. So not only that, it's not about just water and oil, but you have to take into consideration the temperature that you're spraying both paints in. It has to be a certain temperature. If it drops below that temperature, the probability of it flaking and not adhering properly is going to drastically increase. And as you're doing these jobs, and you're doing the jobs, you're scheduling, you're performing, and you're doing all these things, you have to take into consideration, if I stripe in this temperature, is the paint going to adhere? Is it going to flake up? If I use waterborne paint and it's going to drop under 40 degrees before it has time to cure, it's probably going to flake.
Yeah,
And
that's another thing too, Chris. Like I didn't even think about that was and I do try to tell my customers that too. You know, being in the cold season, hey, if you want me to come out, if you need it done before this date and the temperature is not going to get up to the proper temps, I let them know like there's a chance that it might not last because the paint doesn't have the proper temperature and humidity levels to properly cure and adhere to the surface. So there's a chance that it could prematurely fail. If you look at the product data sheets of the paints you're using, it says clear as day on there. Stripe in this temperature range, and the dry time is this, depending on certain humidity. So you have a surface temp and an ambient temp that's recommended, a temperature range for both of those. Surface, which is what you're painting, and the ambient, which is the outside temperature that they recommend for it to be done in. You go outside of that range, and there's no guarantee that your paint's gonna last. So I always try to, if I see that the temperatures aren't within those ranges, I always make sure to, if I remember to bring that up to the customer as well. Hey, if you're able to wait until this day when the temperatures are where they need to be for the paint to properly cure and adhere, this could happen. So,
and see, that's what we were talking about earlier in the video. That's a competitive advantage. You can say, hey, look, you can use us and we're going to make sure it's done right. And that paint's going to stick and your property is going to look good for years to come. Or you can be impatient, hire another company who's just going to take your money, paint the ground, that paint flakes up, then it's going to put you in a bad situation. So that's what I'm talking about.
I literally just had that conversation with my customer yesterday. I was out on a striping job yesterday, and it was a little bit cool, but it was rainy. Everything was wet, but it was because I had some wheel stops that I needed to move position for, and so we can do that. We're not doing any painting, so we were able to knock that portion out. But I had that conversation with him yesterday. So we could paint today, sure, but it's too cool and there's too much moisture in the air. The paint wouldn't adhere. There's a lot of guys that will come out. They don't care. They will do it when the temperature's too low. They will do it when it's too moist, too much moisture in the air, and they don't care. Collect their money from you and move on to the next one. If you have a problem, you call them. You're ghosted. You don't hear from them. And it happens a lot. There's a lot of guys that do this, that they do shoddy work. Their lines look terrible and their work fails prematurely and their customers can't get a hold of them because they're just there to collect a check and move on to the next one. And so you bring those points up and you let them know like, hey, this is how we do it. We take pride in our work. We're going to make sure you're taken care of and that everything's done right. So you have minimal problems and the longest lifespan out of it, which translates into them saving money because they're not paying you or someone else to come out way more frequently. That's going to get them sold, man. They're going to start really looking at you more and more and wanting to hire you because you do things the way it's supposed to be done. You're not cutting corners. You can't cut corners because you're going to end up getting yourself sued.
Right. Okay, hang on one second. I got a good one that popped up. Hang on. Here's a good one. I'm going to take this first, Bill, and then you get this next one. All right, Gus says, I'm going to quote my first lot this afternoon. 90 stalls, 4 handicap, 2 access aisles, and 5 arrows. Any salesman pointers to lock this client in? Yes. It's your first parking lot striping job to go quote. Don't get excited. Don't get excited and then try to send off a big quote that is going to scare a customer away, and they're going to call another company down the road, ghost you, and then use them. You're going to miss out on the sale. This is something that I told a good friend of mine. We were talking on the phone not too long ago. He's still working a full-time job, but he's growing his business on the side. He's missing out on so many opportunities because his prices are too high. And this is what I told him. I said, would you rather lose $15,000 or would you rather make $10,000? And so think about it from that perspective, Gus. Don't send off a price that's going to be so high to where these people are going to price shop you. You want to send quotes. If you're just starting out, you don't have a competitive advantage, you're not really that good at selling, you don't have much experience. What you need to do is send them a price that is so good to where they won't have to see a need to price shop you. So with 90 lines, I mean, if it's 90 lines, man, to be honest with you, if it's in the quarter one and we're going into the spring quarter one and we're not getting as many calls, I'm going to be cheaper. I'm probably going to be in that 30 to 40 cent range. And I'm probably going to be a lot lower than it would be if I'm in the spring, because once the spring season starts, my calendar stays booked. And so, yeah. And so if it's your first job, give them a price that is so good that they don't want to price shop you. Don't send a price that's so high for vanity's sake to go, I sent out a quote for $3,600, because they're going to call somebody down the road and they're going to do it for $2,700. So do you want to make $2,700 or do you want to lose $3,600? And when you keep things in that perspective, it will really transform how you acquire customers. Going back to what I said about my friend who's still working a full-time job, I asked him, I said, how much do you make in a 2-week time period? He said $800. And so if it takes you, 40 hours or 80 hours a week to make $800 or $1,600, then why don't you just go do the job for $800? And then instead of working for 40 hours a week, like you do at your day job, why don't you just go make $800 in 4 hours? And when we start to think about that, not in terms of, well, how much money can I get? And how greedy can I get? And if I send this big old quote, and it sounds cool, trust me, I've been there. That's what it was like for me year one. I thought, dude, this is so awesome. I'm sending out all these big quotes. And it sounded cool to tell people, I sent off a $30,000 quote. I sent off a $10,000 quote, but I wasn't closing any of them. And so it doesn't matter what we quote. It matters what we close. That's the first thing. The second thing is having that competitive advantage. You have to pull up on that site. It's best to touch the site with them, shake their hand, and then talk about how good of a service that you're going to do for them, and then offer a competitive advantage. Because I can promise you this, I said it earlier in the live, if you do what everybody else is doing, but you do not do it better than they are doing it, you're going to be just the same. They're going to call somebody else, and they're going to have them do it. Bill, what do you think about it?
No, I agree 110%. 110%. I know I keep saying that. My apologies, guys, but I do agree with Chris. You can't be coming in super aggressive with it, coming in way too high, because you won't get the job. I guarantee you won't get the job unless you get an amateur or newbie in there that doesn't know any better, and they just go with the first quote they receive, and then they're getting their butts chewed because they spent too much money. Because these businesses that have this done regularly, they know what the price ranges are. They're not stupid. So yeah, you don't want to come in too aggressive on the price. And then also, at the same time, you don't want to come in too cheap, because then it's going to make you look desperate, right? You on a job like that, you say, oh, I'll do it for $250 or I'll do it for $300. I mean, if you can profit and you're good with what you profit, that's fine. But that could also scare them away, because they're like, well, what kind of work is this guy going to do if he's coming in that low? So you got to keep that in mind. Try to do your research. And I know this is really, really hard to do. And this is where the Discord is a huge help, guys, is because you need to research and try to find the going prices for jobs in your area. And the Discord is full of people from all over the nation and, different countries. Well, we got Canada up in there. So those guys, they're always happy to help with pricing. And, they're not going to give you down to the penny, but they're going to get you in the ballpark. And that's going to help out a ton. And then also, whenever you do finally submit that quote, don't hound them. Like, yeah, you want to follow up, but don't sit there and call them later on that day and be like, so, did you have a chance to review it? What's your decision? Or the next day, or, calling them every single day. Just, you want to follow up, but don't hound them for it because you're going to look desperate, and they don't like that, man. They're if you do that, they're going to stop taking your calls. They're going to report your emails as spam, and and then you don't have the job. So
look what I wrote down. Look what I wrote down. Look what I wrote down. Desperation.
Yeah.
Desperation.
Yeah,
so
desperation's it's your enemy, dude. It is your enemy. Do not come off desperate. You need to come off confident, and don't hound people. They don't like that.
Right. I mean, and that's why the school community is so powerful, because we don't just teach one way of how to get customers. I teach people how I get customers, and it's multiple ways. It's not just one.
Oh, yeah.
It's a multiple ways. And this also is important because when you're desperate and you do not have enough lead flow coming in, what it causes you to do is go, I have to send prices because I'm thinking about paying my bills next month. And I made a video about why it's important to structure your finances in such a way where you're not operating out of desperation, because the great thing about us is we're not operating out of desperation. Number one, we have enough lead flow. You have to have enough lead flow, because if you don't have enough lead flow and you're doing this as a full-time thing and you don't have enough leads coming in, then you got a problem, because there's no reason why a person should be running a business but living paycheck to paycheck. Absolutely unacceptable.
So yeah, that goes back to when earlier in the video, excuse me, at the beginning when I said that we had to invest our own money, and so that's where we're at now. Me and my brother, we probably invested out of our own pockets easily over $10,000 like up front. So that's getting equipment, getting materials, paint, things like that, trailer, getting our business fees, starting the business. So it's a chunk of money up front. So, and I'm not saying it's going to cost you 10 grand to start your business. You could start with real basic materials like paint rollers and tape, but it's all going to depend on what your financial situation is at the time. Not only that, not only do you got to have the money to initially get started, and how do you want to start? Because if you want to start off with the best equipment, you're going to invest way more money. So you got to consider that. But you got to also consider that amount of time it's going to take you until you finally do start getting work. And then when you finally do start getting work, guess what? You're still technically not going to be able to really make money, because you're paying off that investment that you put in the business. You gotta offset that and get back to zero before you truly do start making a profit. If you invest a 10K, you got to make 20K so you can pay off that 10K and make 10K profit. So you got to have some money saved up to get you through no problems at all until you start getting that profit from your business. Otherwise, you're going to live paycheck to paycheck. Your emotions are going to start interfering with your quotes, because you're going to be panicked and stressed out and like, oh, I need to get a job. I need a job right now. I'll do it for this price. And then there comes that desperation. And then you're pushing your customer away, and they're not going to call you because you're being too pushy. You're being too desperate. And it's just a chain reaction, man. So you definitely got to, and if you are in that situation that you're struggling financially, as hard as it is, you still got to leave that desperation out of the mix. You can't come across like that, and you still got to have that confidence and act like nothing's wrong financially, nothing's going on in that background, right? You're putting on a mask. But you don't want to put yourself in that situation. You got to make sure you do your finances right. You have money saved up. And then whenever you are making that money, you need to save up money to get you through the slow season. Because if you blow all that money and then the slow season comes around, you're not getting work because it's too cold or too much rain or snow, well, you just screwed yourself. And then now you're closing up shop because you weren't smart about it. So you definitely got to be smart about that, man. It's that will easily destroy a company.
It happens all the time. It happens all the time where people do not have enough lead flow. As a result of not having enough lead flow, they mismanage their finances, and ultimately they end up going out of business because they're irresponsible. This is why I tell people all the time, I don't understand what it is in people where they look at a situation and then do not make responsible decisions and go, all right, I need to get a job because the job is what's going to sustain me while I'm growing and building the business. But if you don't have enough leads coming in, it's, are we outside striping? No. You know what we're doing? We're living off of our income that was generated last year. And so we're not, I can chill and relax and go to the gym for hours a day and everything's cool because we don't mismanage our finances and I'm not operating out of desperation. You guys that are listening to this chat right now, you operate out of desperation. You mismanage your finances. I can promise you this, you're going to go out of business. And I hate to say that, but you'd rather somebody tell you the truth than sit here and try to sugarcoat it and lie to you. So
you'll be closing up shop and going back to work for the man. That's all there is to it.
That's right. Now, let me ask you this. This person says, what machine did you start off with, Bill? Opinions on if the Titan 850 is worth it, then upgrade, or start with a mid-tier like a 3500S, or maybe even some Graco options. What do you guys recommend?
So, yeah, man, I did start off with a Titan 850. You know what the funny thing is? I did one job with it and then I upgraded. But not to say that it's not going to get you through and make you be successful. This is something it really depends on the person. It's going to depend on multiple factors. Are you okay with using that for a little while, for one? Two, are you okay with spending a little extra time on a job to make sure that it comes out good? And, three is, do you have the money to, I lost my train of thought, but do you have the money to invest in something better? What's your current financial situation? If you can afford, I always say, get what you can afford. If you can afford something better, do it because you're going to have less problems. The Titan 850, I will tell you right now, that machine does not like cold weather. So even if it is within striping temperature ranges, that cooler weather, if you're right at that borderline, that machine doesn't like cold weather. I struggle with it to keep it running, to keep it pumping the paint. You cannot use solvent-borne with it. You're strictly stuck with latex. So consider that, especially if you're doing a new layout on concrete. It can make you money and it will make you money. Make sure to take care of it, do the proper maintenance, use the proper paint, and make sure you take the time to really get the job done correctly. The handle's a little janky on it. You got to like crank that sucker down, man, because otherwise it likes to wiggle and it can, give you some squiggly lines. If your paint's a little too thick, you'll have pulsating. So, I mean, it can be a good machine to start off, but I would recommend, if you can afford it, at least go to a Graco 3400 or, something similar in the Titan tier. Don't go with that thing. The tires on it, it does not like bumpy surfaces. If you're on a bumpy surface, you're going to have to lay down strips or masking tape because you're going to have lasagna lines like crazy. So start off with what you can afford and not, to where you're not going to have, and where you still have money left over for your materials and to get you through while you're progressing and growing with the business. But yeah, I used it for like one job, and then I actually got lucky and found a 3900 for $5,000, and that thing was pretty much almost new. And so I bought that, and that's been my go-to the whole time. And then, again, later on down the road, as we got more work, I found another 3900 I picked up for $2,700, also almost brand new. So, I got lucky. I watched Facebook Marketplace like a hawk because for me personally, I hated that little 850, but it will get the job done. It can be a great stencil machine. If you're using latex for stencils, it'll be a beautiful stencil machine. It's lightweight, easy to move around. So, it's got its uses, man. I wouldn't completely knock it, but me personally, I would start off with something better if I could afford it.
I mean, and then this is something also to keep into consideration. You don't have to go and drop $7,000 if you don't have it. I mean, look, this is what I did. And it was a sacrifice for me to do it because back in them days, we was broke, buddy. My wife and I, we was straight up broke. I mean, dude, it was such a sacrifice for me to get my first machine. I put our trailer up for as collateral to get my first business loan before we ever took off. I had a mobile home and I put it up for collateral, bro. And I got my first business loan and I still had to put down 24% of what the bank would loan me. Yeah, so I still had to put down like, I don't know, like $2,000 or something like that. And
that's why I say just get what you can afford.
Yeah, I got to tighten 3,500, and my payments. Listen, and I was still working 2 and 3 jobs at the time. My payments were $150. My business insurance at the time was $30. You know what I mean? And my insurance on the equipment was $20. So it's like my overhead cost whenever I first started, it was $200. I mean, since then we've added the striping trailer. You know, we've got 3 machines. I've got a seal coating trailer. We're fixing to add another 3,900. I mean, so you know, when
when we started off, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was gonna say that you could start off with a machine, but utilize a line of credit from a bank, from a credit union if you don't have enough money. So don't go and drop $3 or $4 grand on something that you're going to need to upgrade on in a month from now. I mean, or you'll have a stencil machine. I'm just saying that there's options. Utilize a credit union if you have a little bit of money saved up in your bank account, or, you know, work 2 or 3 jobs and then save up for it like the rest of us did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, if you can afford to take out the loan, do it. If you can afford to, that you can keep those payments, that might be the better route to go, man, because that'll get you, like what Chris is saying, you get something better off the start, and you're not spending more money down the road on getting something better and more reliable. So it's a little bit of a tricky situation, and it's all going to be situational based. It's going to depend on what your circumstances and finances are. And, you know, and when we first started, we didn't have a trailer. We were renting little small tiny flatbeds from U-Haul every time we had a job. $35 man. And then we finally got a trailer. So everybody starts from somewhere. Some people, they're able to start off with everything. They got all the bells and whistles. They got the fanciest machines, the fanciest trailers, but it's because they had the capital and the credit to do it. A lot of us don't have that. We're having to start off with used machines or take out loans, or, you know, bare minimum tape and rollers. So it's all situational based. Yeah, that's the hard part, and it makes it hard to give advice because of that. You know, we're not all in the same boat.
But that's the thing, though. It's the story, though, right? Yeah. So many people are ashamed of the story. I'm not ashamed of the story, because if you come from where I came from, you come from not having nothing. I mean, bro, I lived before I even got my truck. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't take any excuses from these fools that sit around and complain and go, I can't sell a job. Because, dude, I got a machine and I'm thinking, man, I don't even got a truck. What am I going to do? Oh, I'll rent a U-Haul for $40. And so then, dude, I rented a U-Haul. I rented U-Haul trucks. I rented U-Haul vans. And then I got a truck. And then we've built up from there. And so when I'm not ashamed of the story, because if you're like me and you come from nothing, you have nothing when you first get started, and you are flat broke, working 60 hours a week, and then the Lord lets you build something, and now you got something, bro, I ain't ashamed of the story at all. That's what I'm saying.
No, dude, the harder the struggle, the better the story. I'm gonna tell you right now. And you know what? That means you can take more pride than some of these other people. These guys that, you know, how did you get started? Oh, you know, I had $100,000 in equity, or, you know, my dad gave me $1 million to start with, or whatever. If you came from nothing, like from dirt, man, there's so much more behind it. It has so much more meaning, and you can take way more pride. Like, yeah, I started from nothing, and now here I am. Look at me. What, you know, this other guy had everything. Where's all his stories at? Yeah. So it's I think the harder the come up, the better the story, for sure.
Dude, I like to come up. I like to struggle, which is why I don't give these fools no sort of No, you have no excuse. There is no excuse that you're able to use as a justification by which, I can't do it. It's not going to work, or I can't sell jobs, or I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't put up barriers. A barrier comes up in front of me, and I put it down. Zach, my guy, Zach Purcell Line Striping. He says, Chris and Bill are 100% right. Sales can be I rank number 3 on Google Maps in my area and get very little organic traffic. I close 75% of customers, but that doesn't matter if the volume isn't there. Zach, you're 100% right.
Yep.
Brandon says,
I can vouch for that. Zach does rank number 3. He's right underneath me. And Zach's a good guy, man. I've been trying to help him out and with getting ranked up higher. And he's got a special situation going that's affecting his sales, and we've talked about that. But yeah, he's a good guy, man. I like Zach.
Yeah, I do too. Let me ask you this. Brandon says, Bill, going into year 3 as well, what has been your success experience with Google versus social media?
For me personally, I haven't really focused on social media. I did post social media posts. I put on LinkedIn, Facebook. I would say Google blew those out of the water. I don't know if I actually did ever get any business from Facebook or LinkedIn. I don't really remember. I might have gotten 1 or 2 jobs, but as far as I know, everything has been Google, a couple of word of mouth, a couple of referrals, but it's all been Google. And here's the insane thing. New customers, man. I've only had a few repeat customers. Everything else is brand new customers off of Google. Almost every time my phone rings off of Google, it's a new customer. It's not a repeat. It's not a referral. We're asking, how'd you hear about us? Oh, Google search. Oh, I saw your website. So Google, for me personally, in my area, it's just been blowing the other stuff out of the water. I don't even mess with social media right now. But I think I might try something different this year. I'm probably going to go ahead and pay for Facebook marketing at some point and see how that does. I'm not opposed to it. It could be. I think it all depends on the area and what people in your area primarily use to look for that specific service. So, but yeah, that's been my experience.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll say this, Brandon is a unique case. He's going into year 3. Brandon and I started working together. What was it? In December or November or December. And Brandon's been in the school program for about 3 months now. Last month, we covered creating content on LinkedIn. And I showed them what I do, what's going through my mind on LinkedIn, how I do it, and the processes by which I utilize LinkedIn as well as content creation to generate organic traffic, leads, people that are coming to you, so you don't look desperate. And that's the text message that I showed earlier in the live about how a 75K of an apartment complex. He does pressure washing. So this is universal. I mean, it's not just specifically for parking lot striping, but if you're a service-based business, all these skills are transferable. It's translatable, meaning you could take it from here and then apply it over here. You could take it from there and then apply it here. All this stuff makes a difference. If you guys are wanting to land monster jobs, monster contracts, you need to consider signing up for the school program. Straight up, it's super cheap for the amount of value that we give away. And honestly, the longer you wait to get in, the higher the price is going to go, because people are landing monster jobs, and it's honestly too cheap. We're fixing to increase the price. So if you're interested in that, you want to hop in before we put the price up, consider doing that.
Also, the longer you wait to get it, the longer it's going to take you to make money. The longer you're going to keep going without sales and without business. So,
Look, and I'm telling you, listen, it's so hard. Listen to this story. I'll tell the story because this is a cracking live. It's flowing now. There's this guy named Rad. Okay. I talked to Rad when we first released How to Stripe. Dude, listen, it was selling for $99. How to Stripe was selling for $99. Rad called me. He's like, man, I don't know if I should get it, man. I don't think I should do it. $99. I don't know if I should do it. I don't think I can get it. Okay, well, hey, look, if you can't get it, I understand. But I mean, I'm not going to just give it away for free because, you wouldn't go work for free. And so if you wouldn't go work for free, why would you expect me to work for free? So I said, $99 is super cheap, bro. If you can't afford it. I mean, I put my training on a credit card whenever I did. And so long story short, he contacts me a year later and he says, hey, Chris, how to stripe's more expensive. By then I've got testimonials. I mean, I've got people running a 150. I've got people, making six figures, multiple six figures. Friend of mine, Austin, 300 grand off of the assessor map video in the marketing pack, 300K. Anyways, I have multiple testimonials from our training because it's been a year since we've released it. So people have implemented the training. Listen, and this isn't to badmouth him. I'm talking to you guys that are listening to this live right now. You that are listening to this live right now. And so he says, hey, Chris, I just wanted to reach back out, man, and ask you, how to stripe's more expensive now. Any way you can give me a discount? So he's thinking about getting it, but he didn't. And I said, listen, there's a deeper problem than just some price, okay? Because you're not moving forward because of something. Something is preventing you from moving forward. And what is it? Because it's not $99 and it's not $250. This is what I'm saying to him. What is stopping you from moving forward and advancing and getting in a better position than when you are right now? Long story short, he's a year later, I've got multiple testimonials, people running six figures. You're one of them. And so guess what, though? He's on his third job going into year two. He was on his third or fourth job going into year two because he would not invest in himself to get training. And that's how people are, bro. They'll look at like the school. I'm talking about the school program. Super cheap, $250 a month. $250 a month.
That is cheap, Chris. I'm going to cut you off for just a second. You got to be willing to invest in yourself. You got to be willing to if you don't know anything about it and you have to pay money to get that information, do it, man. When I first started that course that I was telling you that I bought, at the time I bought it, I paid like $400 or $500 for that course. And because I was willing to invest in myself, I knew that I was going to have to do research and figure out how to do everything, every aspect of the job, including running the business, in order to be successful. Because if you don't have that knowledge and that information, guess what? You're never going to succeed. You're never going to take off, and you're just going to end up quitting and selling everything off because you couldn't make it happen. You got to be willing to invest in yourself. You got to be willing to put in that money, that time, that effort. Because if you don't, you're just going to go downhill, and you're going to go back to work for somebody else at another business. $99. I didn't even realize you had it that cheap at one point. That is insane, dude. Especially for the value that's in this course. I mean, why would you? Look, you spend $100 on something stupid. You'll dump $100 on a dang pocket knife or you dump 12 times that on a cell phone.
Yeah,
on a cell phone.
That's what I'm
just
saying.
Because it's the newest, hottest phone and it's got the coolest technology. Who cares about that? If you want to be successful in life, man, you got to be willing to be smarter than that and willing to invest in yourself. That's all there is to it. You're not willing to invest in yourself. Just go work a 9 to 5. That's it.
Yeah, you have to. And then this is what it is, bro. This is what it is. And everybody who is serious about it pays for high-level training. I pay for high-level training for every single month for people who are better than me to tell me what to do in order to get to that next stage in life. I have a fitness trainer. I have a business mentor and all kinds of stuff. And the people who are serious about it, they advance themselves by investing in themselves to make themselves better. Here's the problem. You see the problem? And I'll use this example for people. Take this piece of paper. This piece of paper represents what we're not willing to let go of. And so even though I know that by letting go of this piece of paper, it will make me better. We don't mind going out to eat at fast food restaurants. We don't mind going to the casino. We don't mind getting drunk. We don't mind buying whatever it is that we like to do that makes us feel some sort of happiness. We don't mind. We don't want to we'll let go of that in order to achieve instant gratification. But when it comes to investing in ourselves for high level training, that's going to teach us how to make this and this and this and this. Does that make sense? I mean, for y'all, those of y'all that are watching this right now, do you see this? And so in order to get to this, all you got to do is let go of that. And that's what people don't do, bro. They don't do it. And
certain habits that they can't let go of there, and they're not willing to change certain aspects of their life to get to where they want to be. You know, sometimes in order to get to the next stepping stone, it's like being tied down, man, or holding on to something that's holding you down. And if you don't let go, you're going to be stuck on that stepping stone for forever. So there's, depending on who you are, how you live your life, what your lifestyle is, you might have to just completely let go of everything altogether, or, maybe just only a few things to let go of and to change the overall outcome, because otherwise you're just going to be stuck in a rut. You're going to be the guy in the hole while everybody else is up outside having fun and being successful and living life to the fullest.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And he ended up talking to me a year later, still in the same circumstance, still in the same situation, never moved forward because he was afraid to let go. And I mean, it's just crazy. That's like a guy that I was talking to with the franchise. That's the guy I was talking to with the franchise. He was like, I said, how much is that franchise going to charge you in order to give you the education, the equipment, and all that stuff? He said, yeah, it's going to be about a $90,000 investment. I'm wondering if I should do it. And I'm like, do you want me to teach you how to do it for $10,000? Do you want to pay $9,000 and then them own part of you, or do you want to do it for $10,000 and I don't own nothing? And so it's just you have that mentality, bro. Whenever I was there, I'm not saying you, but just people in general. I've been there, dude. Man, it's scary. It's scary to let go. It's scary to start. It's scary to move. It's scary to go. But I'm not somebody that can just sit around, bro. Like, I can't sit around and just not be trying to excel in some way, shape, or form in my life, whether that be financially, physically, spiritually. In some area of my life, I'm not content with mediocrity, and I don't think that anybody should. No man in his life, I'm fixing to get pumped. No man in his life should be ever content with mediocrity. If you're watching this and you're content with mediocrity, you might as well just hop off, because mediocrity in life is absolutely embarrassing, especially for a guy. You should not be content with being mediocre in life. You should strive to be better than that. I'm telling you, look, got people hopping off. You need to hop off.
Yeah, man. I mean, without change, there's change is what makes things happen, man. Change is what created technology. Change is what got us from the Stone Age to where we're at in today's world. So if you're unwilling to change yourself, you're going to be stuck back in the Stone Age, man. You're going to be one of those people that never goes anywhere in life, and nobody's going to remember. Nobody's going to talk about, except for the fact like, oh, man, that guy was a rock in the dirt. He never did anything special.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to change. You got to be willing to change. You got to be willing to do what's needed to be done to get the outcome you're looking for to be better.
Dude, otherwise, I'll start getting excited.
Yeah, otherwise, just like Chris said, get out of here. Don't.
Look, dude, I will straight up start getting excited on the live, dude. Oh my gosh, I cannot take it. Look, I'm telling you, I had somebody at Pavex. We were at Pavex, and they were telling me we're all hanging out together, and then they were telling me, they were saying, "Man, do you ever relax? Do you ever chill? Do you ever just take a break? Do you ever?" And I said, "No, I don't relax. No, I don't chill. No, I don't just take a break." I mean, obviously, I do. I mean, I do relax. But what I'm saying is, dude, I'm trying to go forward. I'm trying to advance forward. I'm trying to be better, to do better, to accomplish more. And man, I'm telling you, that's just how I'm geared up, man. That's how I am. That's how my energy is. There's people that are watching this right now that know me on an intimate, personal level, and that's just how I am. And just straight up, I'm telling you, dude, I want to conquer whatever it is that I come in contact with. And if you'll have that same exact mentality too, you can achieve it. I'm telling you. Look,
Oh
it's
yeah,
been a
you
good
can
ride.
make it happen, man. You can make it happen. You got that kind of energy, that kind of drive and willpower. You will be successful. That's all there is to it. But you gotta be willing to do it, man. You gotta invest in yourself. You gotta put in the footwork. You gotta do the research. You gotta just put in all that legwork and have the drive and enthusiasm and energy and the motivation. If you don't have it, find it. Find it wherever you got to find it, but just find it. You got to look at your wife and kids and use that for motivation. Use it. If people always look at you, look down on you, and say you'll never be anything, use that. I mean, just find something to push the drive. If you want to be the kind of person that's like, screw the world and I'm going to come out on top and who cares about anybody else? If that's got to be your mentality to be successful, so be it. Now, I'm not saying to screw people over and step on them. No, don't do that, man. I mean, don't be a bad person and take advantage, but find something to get that motivation to keep you going, to keep you getting through life and trying to be better and be more successful and be good to people in the process, man. Treat them right. Because if you're stepping on other people just to get this job, well, you're just going to eventually at some point start not caring about your customers. And you're going to be one of those guys that's, I'm just trying to hurry up and get to the next one so I can hurry up and get paid. And your work's going to be all shoddy. And then, what?
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh, dude, I'm getting stirred up on this live. I might break this microphone right now, dude. I'm telling you. I start getting excited. Look, I'm telling you. I start getting excited, bro, when I'm talking about developing myself in order to be a better husband, to be a better father, to be a better a leader in whatever capacity it is that I'm in, dude. Mediocrity, there's just something about it that just makes me sick, dude. And so what I'm saying is we don't have to be that way. We don't have to be mediocre. So anyways, y'all, the live has been really, really good today. If you're hopping in or you've been with us for a while, don't forget to hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. And also, if you've watched the live, you need to consider hopping in the private school program. It's super cheap, very affordable, and you're going to learn more advanced skill sets to get more customers and to grow your business. Bill, thanks for coming on the channel today, bro.
Do it.
Do it.
Yeah, man.